In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways. Moya o light, Moya o bright. Welcome back, guys. You can see the times are changing. Things are just like moving around for us. So much is happening. Thank you so much for all the love and support that you guys are giving the channel. We would like more sponsorships though, or you guys must get your paid membership or whatever you do to make the things right so that the team can get paid. Is going to be so monumental for us. So we've got another African Kingdom series. As you know, we like to go get our kings and our queens to get our history and to find out about their kingdoms and the history of that, because it's all tied into our politics, obviously, and the issue of the land, always. So today, I've got LEHASA MOLOI, but most of you probably known him as Dr. Lucas MOLOI, and we're going to unpack everything with you. Thank you so much. Josi, I must thank you for your patience with us today.
No. Thank you for having me. And patience is a very important thing. If there's anything that being in the path that I am, it's patience. It teaches you that understanding, humility. It's not a problem.
It's amazing. It's amazing because you know such an important man, and you waited a whole hour for us.
Not a problem at all.
I'm disclosing, we really, because that is part of leadership, I guess.
Yes. Look, I think when one looks at leadership on its own, that leadership is based also very much on understanding, on empathy, and I repeat it every time, and I say one thing that we lose very easily is humility. And that means we then tend to also focus so much on our individual self and forget who are we doing things for? Who do we live for? So for me, as me, it's very easy to throw your toys off the court and get into the car and leave. But whose message are you carrying? And by you doing all these things, are you serving the owner of the message that you are carrying? And I think for me, that's where the importance is, understanding that you don't represent you. You know, you represent much greater people whose voice have been for the longest of time suppressed. And and in everything that you do, you need to ask yourself that, is this the way that they would lead? Is it the way that they would be proud of me leading? And I guess that should be the thing, the guiding principle, especially for those in leadership.
So let's take it right from the top. We're talking about African kingdoms and the erasure of our monarchs. Let's start with your own kingdom. So can you give us the history of you and your people?
So we are a tribe called Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng. Instead of just Makgolokwe, we are called Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng. And why are we called Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng? So when you look at the broader Makgolokwe, who Makgolokwe are Bakhatla people. And many times we tend to be wrongly classified as Basotho.
I was about to say, what's Bakhatla?
Yeah, you understand. So we are not Basotho. So Basotho as a nation, you're looking at 1824. when you talked about Makgolokwe, and that Makgolokwe were a formation of Moranana Bizwa Kgetsi, which was the son of Tabane. Now Kgetsi was born in 1540, so you would think of Makgolokwe around 1560, and that's when they were. So if you look at that, there's a 300-year gap between Basotho and Makgolokwe. So by saying Makgolokwe-a-Basotho, then you are calling me by the name of a son, right? Who came 300 years later and that. So where did Makgolokwe come from? Makgolokwe came from what we call Bakgatla. Bakgatla today have given birth to nations like Botswana and those. But before then, we spoke of Bakgatla, we spoke of Bahurutsi, we spoke of Barolong. So those were the tribes that existed then. And over time then, there was this creation of super tribes. And this is where you see Basotho coming in, this is where you see Amazulu coming in, Maxhosa coming in. Those are super tribes created around the 1800s, the time that were called the time of Difekano, and that's when those tribes really were developed or architected, but before then you are talking of Makgolokwe, Batlokwa, you are talking of Bahurutsi, Bakgatla, which were much bigger tribes, and then you go back and in the Zulu kingdom also you're talking about the Zulu clan and those clans which became then a kingdom around the 1820s and that. So that's where it actually started. However, as Makgolokwe as one group, we existed in a place at the time that was called Seradwe, today called, what is this area now called? Standerton.
Okay.
Today it's now called Standerton and that. But it's not Standerton town, either Standerton area at the stage. Mm-hmm. So this is what confused people a lot, because when you talk about our history and you try to understand our history with today's setting, you find that people get confused with that, because our history will talk about regions, districts. So when you spoke about the Standerton district, you were talking about the district that started right after the Vaal, right? So right after the Vaal, when you get into Mpumalanga, you're talking about the area from there. So Heidelberg, going all the way up to the border of Swaziland. That was called Seradwe, right? Now, you look at this and you find, when you speak of a place where Makgolokwe live today, you find them in Standerton, you find them in Daggakraal, you come and you find them in what is called Ntorwane. Today it's called, the name will come for today. But those were the areas where Makgolokwe lived. Mm-hmm. Now around 1823-21, Makgolokwe lived in the mountain that we called Tabagolokwe. And when they were living there, and again, another misunderstanding of history, because when we say Tabagolokwe, people are expecting that you lived on top of this mountain, specific mountain in that. And it's just like today, where there is landmarks, we use a landmark. These people lived around Tabagolokwe. It didn't mean necessarily only one mountain. The royal palace might have been there, but this was the whole area where they lived. So we lived in that area. In 1821, we had our war there. A very serious war against the Nshapu people, who were uncles to Makgolokwe, by virtue of we had married from them, and they had a son which was a son that they came to fight for in order for him to be the next coming king. but the other family members who had already had a king that was there wouldn't allow that. So there was that war in between, and this is the war that then separated the Makgolokwe people. And after that war, you find then our tribe moving there into more today what we call Mafehleng. Today it's called Dennisville area, and that Mafehleng also a very big area because you're talking about part of Dennisville, Heidelberg, you're talking about the whole Metsimaholo district, which is Sasolburg, Dennisville, and those, you're talking about Citybeng. So you're talking about an area that was partly in the then Transvaal, today Gauteng, partly in Mpumalanga, which was still part of Transvaal, and then partly into the Free State, which is the Northern Free State, and the little bit of the Northwest, which is that area of the Klerksdorp and those. So that area was then our kingdom, and it was called Mafehleng. So that is why then this Makgolokwe that lived there was specifically called Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng. Which, they are still a part of the larger Makgolokwe tribe. But after that war, we saw that separation of the tribe, where some went there. We saw others going into the Lesotho area. Those that went into the Lesotho area mostly were called Makgolokwe-a-Letseba. Now those were in that area, and then we had the other Makgolokwe which were led by Tsuisi, which is today those that we find in Harrismith. So these were the three kingdoms that came, or the three groups that came from this kingdom after that war. Makgolokwe-a-Tsuisi, today Harrismith, with them also going into the Qwaqwa area and that, and then into the Tindwa areas and that, and then you find those that then lived more in the northern part of the Free State, which were us, Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng, and then those that are in Lesotho, which then are called Makgolokwe-a-Letseba.
What's the difference? Because we had the Makgolokwe king speak to us.
So here is the thing. This is one thing, unfortunately, that still causes a lot of confusion and rift in between the tribe, where some prefer calling themselves Makgolokwe and other preferring calling themselves Makgolokwe. Now it doesn't happen only with us. If you go north to the Pedi kingdom, you will find some which says Kibapedi, but you grew up knowing Mapedi, right? So this then goes into the semantics of language, where the written language of Sesotho says when you speak about Batu, you use Ba. So when you speak of a group of people, you say Ba. So instead of saying Ke Lekgolokwe, you say Ke Makgolokwe. But if saying you talk to one person, you will say Ke Lekgolokwe, you will say Ke Mogolokwe. So that's why it is. Others would say Rebato. So that's why we are Bagolokwe instead of Makgolokwe. But you find some which says no. We prefer being called Makgolokwe because that's what our forefathers called themselves. For whatever reason it was, we want to just continue that. However, if you go to the archives in Pretoria and find the history of these people, you are going to find that very same confusion, because some of the papers would be written as Bagolokwe and some of the papers would be written as Makgolokwe. But this is talking about the same people, because when you look at the lineage that both these groups are talking about, they're talking about the very same lineage. At this stage, it is really what one identifies with. With us, there had always been Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng, and that's what we still call ourselves. And it comes also with our praise song, and then when you get to the praise song, we don't say Ki Rabagolokwe. When I speak, I don't say Ki Mogolokwe. I say Ki Mogolokwe le kotswana le hlabagoka le maokise mogolwane gore ke le bona. So I'm talking about myself, But again, when you look at praise songs, you were talking about yourself not in a form of a human being. You're talking about yourself in a much bigger form. And that's why you would have said Makgolokwe, because it was something that was used to show the veracity. It was something that showed the readiness also for war, to protect. And that's where some of it comes from.
Are there relationships between these three groups that you just told us about?
Definitely, yes. Unfortunately, because of the colonial effort to dismantle, disintegrate the African kingdoms, and that a lot of history was erased and another created. So you find everywhere you go, you are going to find, when you go to the Zulu nation, you're going to find people that still says to you, oh, no, we feel that the current city monarch is not the right one, the bloodline is supposed to come from that side. And you go to Abatembu, you go to Amapata, wherever you go, you're going to find those divisions in families, where there's always a belief that this family was the one that's supposed to take over and that. But not only did it come from the colonial architecture, it came also from at times the way our families were put together. So a king would have had 3, 4, 5, 20 wives. Mm-hmm. And the issue had always been, the minute we are not clear who is to take over you, the minute succession planning is not clear in the kingdom, you are going to find that problem. Because then comes the issue of, yes, I have a firstborn son, but this firstborn son was born out of wedlock. Or this firstborn son was born from a mother that was not from royalty. And that one might be son number 5, number 6, and he is born from a queen that was a princess. And when you sit in, you say, then who is a senior son here? Because remember, the kingdom does not go, the throne does not pass to the eldest child. It passes to the senior child. Not the eldest, the senior child. And sometimes the eldest son might not be the senior child.
What does that mean?
Okay. In the case now of in a kingdom said that various kingdoms says the wife that is married by the tribe. Now we're looking the Sotho Tswana, right? A wife that is married by the tribe, it's the senior wife. They would say meaning she is the wife that is most senior to them all. Because the king did not marry her himself, the tribe paid their own cow to marry this woman. So she is not your wife. She is the wife of the tribe. Mm-hmm. That is who is the mother of the tribe. And the kids that will inherit the throne are her kids. Now this Mosadua Lambi, this Mosadua Lebon, might not be your first wife.
Oh.
She might be wife number 4. She might be wife number 5, all we know. At that time, when the tribe marries her and brings her in, you already have got kids that are running around the kingdom. And she gives birth. Meaning that all the other kids that were born before might be older to this child. But this child is the most senior. And the throne goes to the most senior son.
That is that kind of what the situation is in?
That is what the situation is.
Okay.
And in every kingdom, that is the situation that's happening. And people don't really want to talk about it. Because we now add democracy and laws and everything into it. Because if we take it to court, the court sits and says, yes, but he's also the son of the very same person. And so it goes to whether, is the family prepared to take their culture and go challenge it in court? Or do we respect our culture the way it was practiced? And the question for me is always that. A kingdom, a kingship, it's something that is cultural. If you take a kingship and you don the kingship blanket you go with, you cannot, on that path, choose to start doing things the modern way. Because what we have inherited, if it was then supposed to be there, then don't inherit it. Because kingdoms have fallen now. So you cannot inherit only the benefits and not inherit the whole belief, the total belief of what it stands for.
The sacrifices.
And that's what it stands for. If we are going to inherit and continue with it, let us inherit everything that goes with it. Let us inherit Hubulla. Let us inherit that you cannot not have went to initiation and become king. Let us inherit it from there, that when the time comes and there is even a wildest suggestion of you taking over the throne, where it starts, it's with initiating you. First, initiating you from boyhood to manhood. Because there are things that you are going to need in ruling that nation that you can only learn through initiation. Because when we talk about that issue of initiation, also we come to the space where it is now thought to be just something that those that are not educated, that those that are backward want to go and do, those that want to be rowdy want to do, so they want to go there so that they can come. So, no. If we are going to talk about kingships and kingdoms and those, we need to understand what is the first thing. And even before this child gets to the stage that we send them there, did we go and take them through all the customs that needs to take place and happen from there? Now we've got a lot of things that today are worrying. That we will bring a child, arrive with a child at some stage, after some time and say, oh, this is the rightful heir to this throne. Meanwhile, this child even, I think you say in Kabi, in your, it's not buried in the scroll. And we want to come only later, much later in life, when this is a man already, and we want to come and make him the head of this family. Where is Inkabe? It's not here. It's not here. We have buried it somewhere else. And if we bury the umbilical cord somewhere else, and you are going to be the head of this scroll where your umbilical cord is not there, how do the ancestors in that place connect with you? Remember, the significance of the umbilical cord is that even when the child is in the womb, the umbilical cord serves as a connection. The connection to who? To the source. When you are still in the womb, that source is the mother. It's the source of your breathing. It's the source of the food. It's the source. That umbilical cord attaches you to the source. And the minute you are born, not next year, not the minute you are born, we take that umbilical cord because your source is no longer the mother that is walking around. Your source is now the ancestors and the land of your ancestors. That's why we take that umbilical cord and we now connect you to that source. And that is the source that we are going to bring you and put you back to when you are no longer alive. We take you back to that source and we say, whatever you had borrowed to us, we are now returning back to the source. Now, if that umbilical cord is not connecting you to that source, how do you become the head of the family that you're not connected to?
So does that mean that you went through this whole process when you were young, you were groomed to take over? How did this play out in your life?
Growing up, you usually would see.
Like, where did you grow up? Take us from the beginning.
Yes. So you would see in how you are being raised. When other kids are being raised by your father and they're close to your father and they are there, and you are the one that is removed from your father, and you are removed more to your grandfather.
Does this mean that your father was polygamous? When you say other children, do you mean your mother's children? Do you mean other mother's children? Or your cousins?
My father had 3 wives. My father had 3 wives. So I have got 3 other brothers. One we share mother, and 2 they have got their own mothers. They don't share mother. Also, they are from separate mothers.
Okay.
But you then find that you are not raised under the wing of your father. You are raised under the wing of your grandfather because you need to learn certain things from there. And that was my upbringing. At times, you don't even know the role that you're going to play. You don't even know who are you, what you become. Mostly in our tribe and that, you usually even grow or are raised at your maternal family instead of a paternal family. And this you would see having happened in many the Sotho-Tswana kingdoms. And why do we do that? Because there is a polygamy at home. And there's more than one son. And every mother would like their son to be the one on the throne. So the one that is going to be on the throne, and that we remove him from the harm, so that he cannot be harmed around this family. And the other ones cannot be given something to give to your brother. So we take this child and we remove the child, and this child goes and grows at the maternal family and that. And when it's time for him to come and learn certain traditions here at home, we bring this child back, and this is when now we send this child lebolong and all those things and that. So that is the upbringing. The upbringing is that I didn't grow much around that. So as a matter of fact, you don't develop a great relationship, father and son relationship. You see your brothers having this great father and son relationship, but you don't have that. And unfortunately, those are part of the sacrifices that goes with it. A lot of people, when they talk about the issue of kingships and those, that they only think about they measure South African kingships with what is happening in London. I'm going to be a prince and I'm going to be king one day, and it's not like that. You are going to inherit people that cannot buy you a Rolls Royce. You're going to inherit people that you need to buy food. You're going to inherit people that you need to do things for. You need to work for them, not them work for you. And those were some of the lessons that were the critical lessons that my grandfather gave me. That it's not about you. One of the critical lessons was him to say, you are the child of these people. You are, when they need to speak with someone, they're going to send you. That means you are their child. When they need things, they're going to send you. When they need to speak with their ancestors, they're going to talk through you. When they need to bury their ancestors, they are going to come to you. So you are the child of these people. And if you are not there to serve them as a child, you are going to become a demigod. You're going to forget your position and you're going to be a Western king. And you're going to then lead the people astray. This is the biggest problem that we find. This is the biggest problem that we see. This is why African kingdoms are falling. Because we want to be glamorous. We want the glamour of Western kings.
Oh my God. So then as we're seeing that the political landscape is changing, what's the relationship between our monarchs and our government? How should we position it moving forward? Moving forward.
When you spoke to, you would have heard that the politics of South Africa is the creation of kings. And politicians seem to always forget this and need to always be reminded about this. It was not politicians that thought about politics and brought the politics in the country. It was kings. 1912, they came and they took the land. And it's at that stage where people get very confused what is happening in that. I'll take you a little bit back. 1906, the Makgolokwe people, together with the Makgolokwe people, stood up to go fight for land. Because at that stage already, land was being taken away from us. The law was not written. The Land Act was not written, but the land was already taken from us. The Makgolokwe and Makgolokwe said, this is not happening. At that stage, when the Makgolokwe and Makgolokwe came together, a gentleman called Josias Gumede was a secretary of the Makgolokwe king. Him and Morena Letlatsa had met during the Anglo-Boer War, and they were serving there, and they met there, and they built a very good friendship. And when all that was finished, he came to assist the kingdom, and he was then the secretary in that. And amongst their talkings and everything, it was decided that they were going to go themselves directly to London and to see the so-called king there, and they are going to then discuss about our land. It's very unfortunate that you have to go to some place overseas and that to go negotiate matters of your own land. But they went. The tribe put money together. They got into a ship, they traveled there. They arrived there, they got there, others were sick and everything, and it was a period of about 9 months of in and out meetings there. They were called in by what was called the Brotherhood at that stage. And after all these things didn't work, they had to come back home. In 1907, when they came back home and they were dismissed. They were not listened to. And when they got here, they said, Gumede, you went with us there. You saw what happened. We tried, we fought. But now we need to build strength and power. We need to unite as the brotherhood that we saw that side. And let you, Amakholwa, that's what they called them. They called them Gumede Amakholwa. These were the ones that were educated. They had believed in the system of the white man, of Europeans. And this were then called Amakholwa. Then they said, you as Amakholwa, you need to formulate something that is going to work. And this is when Amakholwa started what was called the South African National Natives Congress ANC, African Natives National Congress. Now they formed that. By whose money? By the money of Amakhosi. And this is where then you found that there were a group that was coming from the Eastern Cape today, a group that was coming from KZN today, a group that was coming from the Free State, a group that was coming from Limpopo. That is why when you think about the formation of the ANC in those days, think about it nicely. You will realize what I'm talking about. There was Mahatu, there was Kumeke, they were Moroka. They were all coming from these different kingdoms. All of them were related to the kings. And it was simple. Go, two things that the kings asked for. Two things. We want you to go fight for land and dignity. Not the vote. The vote is what they decided upon themselves when they were in jail. Two things. Land and dignity. We came back with the vote. The land and dignity still nowhere to be found. This is what the kings, when the formation of political parties started, wanted. Then we know from there, it then became the ANC later on. And we know then all the other political parties then came out of that pattern of the ANC. So the people that the struggle, the liberation struggle, should be afforded to, should be credited to, are the kings. Because these are the people that decided that that's what now must happen. Now, today, it's unfortunate that the politicians remember Makhosi when we come to things, the elections and that. So during the elections, I had a couple of people that came and knocked at my door and they wanted me to come with them and campaign with them and all these things. And I said, no. I will not do that. I have a tribe that has got members of all these political parties in it. If I choose one, who am I being loyal to and disloyal to? I said, I do not do that. And that is the same thing why I do not vote. Because my forefathers wanted land and dignity, not vote. I cannot vote until the system is a system that is designed to understand my needs. You cannot vote in a system that is created with you out of mind. Because even if you vote, your vote will never put you into that system. It was not designed for you. People must not come and talk about democracy and try to demarry or divorce democracy from African monarchs or from the kingships. They must not. You see, there's a lot of miseducation that we get that comes around from all these so-called experts and professors and all this that come out and come with theories and that. It was never African to dictate. Wherever you go, that's what we call it khoja. How does a king rule? A king rules through khoja. Who is in khoja? Is it the king's family? No. It's the member of the community. When you have done something wrong and you are brought to khoja to discuss your case, the king does not sit there and takes decisions on you. The king comes to khoja. And the khoja of the tribe takes decisions. We have always been in a democracy. We've always lived in a democracy that made sense. The democracy, an African democracy, it's not a democracy that you talk about of the Western democracy that says if a group of 6 people decide to vote and there is 36 people, the 6 that have decided to vote, their voice is more stronger than the 30 that did not vote. Our democracy says everybody goes and sits in Nkgotla. And everybody in Nkgotla has got an opinion, and their opinion will be heard. And if Nkgotla had to take the whole week to discuss a matter, Nkgotla will take a whole week to discuss a matter. But when we leave that Nkgotla as one voice. A democracy that does not say others' voice are more louder than others. That's the democracy that we need to be talking about in Africa. And when we talk about the relationship between politicians and the monarchs, it worries me because it's a relationship of politicians wanting to preside over the monarchs. I have a problem with that. Because we need to remember, we can talk democracy, yes. We can develop a democracy that makes sense to us as Africans, that speaks to our environment. We can design that. We did not have to take democracy as it was introduced to us, as we did now. We took democracy as it was introduced to us, not the democracy that we needed. So until we sit and do that, this relationship between Amakhosi and the government officials, it's forever going to be troublesome. Because the painful thing about it is whereas Makhosi cannot talk, because they are afraid if they talk and say anything, they are now not going to get the stipend that they are getting from government to be recognized. Now my question is one. We sit and we are in a space where people talk about recognition. I have to recognize you, I have to recognize you, and that. The 1994 politicians, the 1994 democracy politicians, recognizing the kingdoms that have been here since the 800s. Recognizing. Can you really, from 1994, come and recognize a kingdom that started in 1821? The kingdom of Mafehleng started in 1821. How do you recognize me in 1994? I've been there. I'm in existence. There's people. You cannot recognize me. I can recognize you because you're coming on my land. Then I can recognize you. But how do you recognize me when you were only put there in 1994 and I have been there since 1821?
The traditional leaders in the country, I mean, I can only see the Zulu clan, and now Makgolokwe is coming through. Where are all the other ones? Who are they?
You see, the biggest problem, Mamiya, started from the creation of super tribes. And the reason that there was a creation of super tribes was that so that we can be able to discuss with one person. And even when you look at the history and you go to, I love archives. I'm always there by archives, paging through and reading stuff and that. And you'll be surprised when you go to the archives and you ask for the file of Makgolokwe. When you open the file of Makgolokwe and you open that file, you look inside, you will see how much stuff has been taken out of there. And I can give you 2 books or so that were written by the very same writers of our history, who says in their books that there were so much things that were stolen and taken out of that file. Because even around then, in 1907, when everybody was still trying to establish and think who they are and what they want, we were fighting for land. We were clear on the issue of land. And that is why you are forever going to hear clarity from me when I speak about land. I am not found wanting. I am very clear about land. Because I know which land it was. And I will forever speak about it in those terms because my forefathers spoke about land. Now, the problem becomes where you take all these people, you put them all under one, and you want to choose one king.
Yeah.
It was not African to have that. When they came here, we did not have super tribes with one kings. No. We had tribes that that lived in the same land that was plenty, many tribes, and you'd come in the case at the end, you'd have Amandwandwe, you'd have, Baselangeni, Abonhlongo, you had Babazulu. This was not one tribe. It was various tribes. You had that everywhere. And in their writings of history, they have come up with many different stories of how we became one. However, I can tell you now that becoming one was a matter of convenience. That if I need to go take over certain lands, I need to be talking to one person. Yeah. Because if you speak to different people, you have a problem. Because this one agrees with you and the next one tells you get lost and the other one agrees with you. So what do you need? You need one. You need one person. How you are going to create one person to exist, it's in your creativity. But you need to have one person. And this was the creation of super tribes. To have one person that we can talk to when we speak to the Basotho Tswana people. One person that we need to talk to when we speak to the Nguni nation. And that's what has happened. All these tribes are still there. Some of them destroyed. Some of them scared to speak. Some of them cannot even find their history. And this is what has happened. So we sit in a space where we have got 13 official languages, but my language is not even included. I'm one of the most founding tribes of this country. If it was not for us, probably the Basotho would not be there, because the Basotho was a merger of various tribes. Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng, Bafokeng, Bataung. All those were tribes that were, right? But my language is not there. The language of many tribes, it's not there. When I speak my language, you probably wouldn't understand my language. I would not sound as South African in my language, right? When I talk about X, in my language, X, we call it Makati, right? It's not Mahi, it's not Amakanda, it's Makati. But when I say that, no one in this country will recognize what I'm talking about. So I'm a foreigner in my own country. And these are the things that we need to honestly talk about. And if that relationship that we're speaking about between the politicians and the monarchs was to be genuinely something that is going to bring change, as the change that is being spoken about now, that we can go and form coalitions with everyone, and that because we want to bring a better South Africa. That if that was, then we would go back to a real CODESA, a CODESA that has the kings in the room. And then we can talk about where do we want to take our country to? How do we take the country forward? Now, if I tell you about the manifesto and the founding document, actually, of the African National Congress, the founding document of the African National Congress says that in every conference, so this conference where they're choosing a president, it says in the conference, in every conference that takes place, makes it very clear that there will be kings there. It makes it very clear there will be kings there. And those kings have got an honorary presidential role. Meaning that these kings needs to be having a word that is not just advice, a word that is heard in the formation, in the choosing, in the election of who becomes the leader of that movement. But I'm telling you today, if you go to a municipality level, you find someone that is sent by the king there. You find the headman, you find Nkosi there, who has got no say in council. In council. at the municipal level. Even at the level where our people are, that voice has been taken. You are allowed to be there, but you are an observer. So that relationship needs to be reviewed.
It sounds like we are now an interpretation of white people and what white people think. Because what I'm picking up is when the kings were being, the superpowers were being created, the English will resource that one king. And therefore, with the more material you have, the more power you have. And which is exactly when you fast forward to now in politics, that's exactly what they've done with like Cyril Ramaphosa.
This is, history keeps on repeating itself. And the unfortunate part is this. As long as history, as long as you learn nothing from history, history will keep repeating itself. It is only when you learn something where history stops repeating itself. But if you haven't learned, it will keep on repeating itself. It's a strategy that worked. Choose the one that you want. Choose your horse, the one that you're going to bet on. Put all the money to feed it. Make it bigger than the others. Make it stronger than the others. Hype it. Make more people put money on that horse. And it will forever be like that. And every single time when capitalists meet, their focus will always shift to that. They will choose their own horse. Capitalists will put money on the horse, and that horse will be the winning horse. That's what it is. Because we haven't learned what history was teaching us. History was teaching us, beware of what money you put in your pocket. Because every money that comes to you has got demands. Before you put that money in the pocket, what are the demands of that money? And that's what we need to start looking at, to start focusing on, to start understanding. If you are a king, if you are a chief, and you are being paid, whose money are you taking? What is being required of you from that money?
That sounds like even Parliament, you know? When you look at the members of Parliament and how everything has played out and their silence, you can tell that they have to protect their livelihood.
It's a bigger problem when a leader has lost the essence of leadership. And when we started, I spoke about being a child. When a leader has forgotten to be the child of those that had sent them, the problems happens. When you give the child money and you send the child to the shop, the minute that child stops serving you as a parent that sent them to the shop, they are going to lose the money that you send them to the shop with, or they are going to lose the goods that you've sent them with, or they are going to break what you've sent them with. Because when they are there, they now forget about the person that has sent them. And they start playing around with their friends. And they put whatever you sent them down. And when they are playing with these friends, whom, by the way, some of them might be starting the play so that the focus to what you've sent them disappears.
Yes.
Then it's lost. A good child is the one that you give your money and you say, run to the shop and bring me this. And they run to the shop. And when the friends call, they say, I'm going to take this back home and I'll come see you. That is the type of leadership we need to see. We need to see leaders who understand that the people are the parents. They have sent you. They have sent you to go achieve. Now, being a king, you play a dual role, right? Because you play this umntwana role, and then when things are bad, you can't hide and be umntwana. You must come back and be the father and protect. You need to understand that role of leadership. And somewhat in the previous speeches of Nelson Mandela, he had spoken about this. And he said, in times of victory, you've got to stand in the background. But in the time of war, you assume front line. Now, I will tell you that the reason that he understood such principles, and that was because he was a prince. Before he was a politician, he was a prince. And these are Africans' philosophies that he was taught in his role as a prince, more than a politician. And we need to understand. And these things, we need to start ensuring that it is philosophies that live. We need PhDs that are written about African philosophies. We need schools that start talking about African philosophies. It doesn't help to have LO, life orientation, at school level, but you can't even teach during that LO, you can't even teach umntwana isiduko sasekhaya. But you've got life orientation. So what are you orientating me on if you cannot even teach me isiduko sasekhaya during life orientation? In your LO, what is it in the LO that is African? What is it in LO that is preparing our future generations to be true Africans? Now this goes back and say what has been the intention has been totally westernizing Africans. That's what it has been about. Totally westernizing Africans. And people talk about education, I talk about miseducation because we were educated before they got here. We got miseducated.
Yeah.
We've got PhDs in miseducation.
Yeah.
You've got a PhD in completely forgetting about who you are and how you did things. We did maths before they came to taught us maths. We drew before they came to teach us art. We were building pyramids before they are maths and science.
We're engineers.
We were engineers already. So it comes back. What is this education that people are talking about? It is this miseducation of removing you from the source, removing you from the land, teaching you that you need to go and work for someone and not work for yourself. As Africans, we had an economy. You see, when people talk, they talk as if they found us sitting under trees. We were not drinking African beer and drunk. No, we were doing fine, we were living. Life was happening. Livestock was growing. We knew even what medicine to give our livestock when it was sick, without any labs. My grandfather would tell you when he looks at the cow, he would tell you that that cow, we need to assist it in giving birth. If we don't assist it, tomorrow it will not be there. Because he knew the science. He knew how it works. He understood how it's going to work and everything. He knew that without anyone teaching them, he knew that without anyone orientating him in it, it is something that he knew that was passed on generation to generation. The knowledge has always been there. We are now being miseducated to suitably be the human beings that we are today.
So, we kept talking about the land. What do you think should be the strategy around the land issue? Because it seems to be a stamp for everyone.
Take it. That's the only strategy. Take it. How do you negotiate something that was not negotiated for? Listen, if there were negotiations about the land, I would say negotiate. Because there's a reference to go to, right? We can sit and say, look, I know, when we spoke initially, we agreed that we will do this in this way, and then this we will do this way. Because there was a basis, there was a foundation of our discussion, there was a foundation of talks. In this sense, there are no foundation of talks. So what are you talking about? Where are you basing your discussions on? What are you negotiating on? You negotiate if there were terms that were said. There are no terms that were said. Land was taken. In order for land to come back, land must be taken. Then we can start talking. Take the land. Take the land. Take the land. The only thing we're going to do is to take the land. You know, the most surprising thing for you will be what? White people don't own the majority of land in this country. Right? Who owns the majority of land?
Government.
State owns the majority of land. So at this moment, we're batting our heads and everything, and everybody's talking white people and land and that. They don't own more land. State own more land. What is state doing with the land that they own? What is the state doing with the land? How much land do we have that is barren, that is not being farmed? How much land is sitting there? The land is not only in the white hands. The land that is in Europeans' land, it is farming land. It is productive land. That's the land that is sitting there at this moment in Europeans' hands, right?
That's the one we want, though.
That's the one that we want, yes. But the rest of the land, it's still usable. The rest of the land is still usable. How do we partner? How do we work together? So, exactly, can someone tell us what was talked about in this CODESA then? Because clearly, land was then not talked about. Let's give you benefit of the doubt and say you didn't sell the land was not talked about. But how did you think this will work? How do you go and start talks and not talk about the elephant in the room? When they came in and they started anything, when they came in to conquer Africa, they were conquering Africa for one thing. You think they were conquering Africa because they didn't like us as human beings? They were conquering Africa because of the position to the sun? No, they were conquering Africa because of the land. But now you are winning back Africa, yet you are not talking about what brought them to Africa, the land. So my stance on land are very clear. The only way to fix the issue of land is to take land. We can talk afterwards. Let's take the land.
It sounds so wild.
Let's take the land. See, the problem is that we want to be so democratic, so nice, so diplomatic, so Western, so nice, so
civilized.
They were not civilized when they took land. They took land. They drove us out of land. They came out with strategies to drive us out of land, and if you didn't want to move out of the land, they killed us for land.
But what is up with us where white people write on a piece of paper that this is mine, and then we believe it and we go with it?
Here's my question, Tsiki. I'm still waiting for a politician that will answer me on this one. And perhaps I will then move away from my land understanding. When my grandfathers owned the area called Mafehleng, so as the Val runs from northwest to Mpumalanga, that part of the land, when they owned that land, there was no title deed on that land.
Yes.
They owned that land. At some stage, there was a first title deed that was registered over that land. My understanding of property law is that there needs to be a seller and there needs to be a buyer in order for a title deed to change names. Where is the original title deed that said my grandfather? In order for us then to discuss all the other title deeds that came after it, until you give me the very same title deed that my grandfather has signed to give the land away, and then all the title deed that followed afterwards on that piece of land that my grandfather owned are invalid to me, because the number one title deed is not there. We cannot talk about the law that just starts in the air. Where is the foundation of it? Give me the very first title deed that determined which piece of land it runs from where to there. Give me that title deed. And better that title deed have the name of my grandfather, because that was the original owners of those land. He was the custodian. We must make that very clear. He was not the owner of the land, he was the custodian of the land. The land was owned by his people.
Yeah.
He was the custodian of the land. Let them show me that and say this land belonged to the Makgolokwe-a-Mafehleng, and their custodian was this. And the custodian had signed for his people to sell this land. Give me that. Then I will not dispute any title deed, but I will not recognize any title deed in that piece of land as long as we're not talking about the very first title deed.
What is also interesting is that Africans, we don't own God's things.
No.
So our relationship to land and water and earth is, like you're saying, we're custodians, we just live here, we came to visit. And this Western concept of actually buying,
Right.
I mean, how far does land go? It's like,
Yes.
what do you mean when
Yes.
you own the land?
The concept of selling things
Right.
and owning resources and everything,
That God made.
it's very Western.
Yeah.
As Africans, we don't own things. That's why we use things communally. That is why when, in that time when we used to live with other tribes, when someone came to you and they were poor and they had nothing, you would take one of your cattle or two. You'll give them a male and a female, and you'll say, here, I'm borrowing to you. And the person will go and they will give birth, and after 2 calves or so, the person could have brought back and say, thank you very much. We call it mafisa. You used to give for the person not to die and starve. You've got enough. This concept of all the money coming to me, I'm a billionaire and I'm still not going to share. It's mine. It's a Western concept. With us, it was that I have enough to feed my family. You have nothing. How do I help you? If I plowed the fields because I could, and time came and you were unable to plow the fields, I could also do the same and say, you can have these fields from here to there to feed your family. We have always been communal people. Communal. And this went into everything. And I know it's very controversial in that, but in everything we did, everything was communal. It was never about mine. Even when we speak about the issue of polygamy, it was exactly that. It was never a concept of, it's my husband, my husband. That is why when you come from a real polygamous family, and then you'd find that these people are a community.
Yeah.
There was a father that looked after everyone.
Yeah.
It was a community. His wives was a community. At a certain stage, you'd find the one that cooked was that one. They all ate from that family. The one that taught kids was that one. Every single child in that family was sent there. The importance of it was the understanding that we are growing a family with certain values, and no person is complete by themselves. And they used to say, that one, it's good with maturing and looking after children. That one is good with cooking. That one can take care of a household. And that was the role that people were serving. In everything that we did, that's what it was about. The concept of having a paper over everything to prove ownership, it's Western. I want a marriage certificate because he's my husband. He's my wife. She's my wife. So I want a paper to prove it. I want a paper to prove this is my land. I need a paper. Everything is owned by this paper. That was never our system. So every now and then, you must remember, why are we finding it difficult like this with these things? Because they never had the concept of us in their formation.
Sure, it's a lot. I could keep you here the whole day. Thank you so much for, I don't know, I think we've covered just about everything because mainly we wanted to tackle that relationship between the monarch and politicians, especially with where we are in the, I mean, are there some of, when you speak of African systems, just to close it off, you know, because sometimes we don't have reference of what we mean about alternative systems. Have you ever put some thought into what are some things that we can just quickly slip into?
At this moment, I am writing my, I decided to register for my second PhD. And at the moment, my thesis is based on exactly that. African governance systems.
Yes.
And we're talking about that. How did Africans govern? What is governing in an African perspective? And that's what it was. Now, a quick one, I'll tell you this. There is this concept every time that where Africans are painted as people who don't respect women, and you know, we are chauvinists and we don't respect women. I'll be very clear with you. It's an African to be chauvinist.
Yes.
It's an African not to respect women. As Africans, we just understood what each other's role was. And the woman's role was never in the kitchen in Africa. That is not the only thing that we saw a woman good for. No. In an African concept, spirituality rested with a woman. There was a reason why we did that. It's because we fought in wars, we slaughtered, we hunted, we killed. In our understanding, we were not pure because we had spilled blood. That is why we could not go and started negotiating and speaking with Tlatamacho. And the person that was of that role were women to speak with. Take that, bring it back in any African kingdom. The reason that we call the highest woman in every kingdom Indlovukazi, it's very important. Indlovu is the biggest animal in the kingdom. Biggest. Bigger than the lion itself.
Yes.
Bigger than the leopard itself.
Yes. Yes.
That's the stature we are giving to a woman in the kingdom. Indlovukazi. Why? You know, if you look at those animals, you look in the big five. There is no animal in that big five that is going to beat an elephant with memory. Why? We say Indlovukazi because the kingdom memory sits with Indlovukazi. This is the person that is going to tell the kids the stories of who we are, where we come from, and that. This is the source of information of this. However, a king never rules by himself. And the king doesn't rule with his wife. Because if a king rules with his wife, they are going to be self-centered. Because there will be a power couple, like we say today.
Exactly. There's an ego thing there.
There's an ego thing. A king rules with his mother. Because the mother has got the right to be able to tell her son that what you are doing, it's not what your ancestors would have wanted. A king doesn't take decisions in isolation. He consults with Indlovukazi. Because Indlovukazi has got a history of what trouble has such decisions landed us in before. And the day I'm not there, my wife will rule with her son. She can't rule with me. She'll rule with her son. Your role at the moment there as a queen, it's a spiritual role. It is in the background. It is to pray for this kingdom. It is to be the light in this kingdom. It is to interpret the dreams and to carry the dreams of this kingdom. You don't only carry kids in the kingdom, you also carry dreams. When visions are brought, I have a vision for this nation, and that I implant that vision in you because you can multiply it. That's your role, to multiply. So we need to understand, if we are going to talk about governance in an African way, we first need to understand the roles. And say, what role should sit where? And not just depend on how many votes were for this one and that one. What role?
What are you good at?
What role were you created to play? I can be as brilliant as a man, I'll never multiply anything. It is not in my biology, it's not in my psychology. I'm not a multiplier. It's a role of a woman. Who planted? Women. Women plowed fields. They plowed fields. They worked on the fields. Because they can make a seed germinate. With a vision, they can multiply a vision. That was the role. So we need to understand exactly what it is. So when and where did it change and the farmers became men? Now we need to ask ourselves these things. Because when you look in how the Boers interpret things, the man is a farmer. So it shows you exactly that we've got different perspective of life and understanding. In their way of living, a woman is a farmer. In our way of living, a woman is a farmer. So when we come into government, what makes us think that going forward in government, we are going to rule the way that we have copied from them? When we differ in so many things, in spirituality, in so many things, our approach to it differs. Now a cheetah and a leopard look very much similar, but their approach in hunting is different. A cheetah relies on speed, a leopard relies on strength. Both of them hunt. We may be human beings, off to the same goal. My strategy might be strength and yours speed. And I will do bad if I follow speed, and you will do bad if you follow strength. We've got to find what works for us as Africans, and that's what we must put in place. And our visitors that are here at home will join in how we govern ourselves. The one that is not happy with how we govern still has got a home back home to go follow the way that they govern.
Thank you so much, Khosi. Thank you for a fantastic session. Those who are members are definitely tuned into the live stream, and I'd like to encourage all of you guys to have membership so you've got early access to the interviews. Umoya Ulight, Umoya Upright, it's been amazing. We'll see you again next time. Siyabulela, Amagwini.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into it off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.